Volvemos a América Digital News TV, acá en Espacio Riesgo, en Santiago, la capital de Chile. Saludo a todas las personas que nos están siguiendo desde distintos países de América Latina. Estamos ahora con uno de los keynote más importantes de este 9º Congreso de Tecnología y Negocios de América Digital. Él es muy conocido por ser un inversionista en Bitcoin. Él incluso se ha definido como un educador macroeconómico. Pero en estos momentos no vamos a hablar netamente de inflación, de macroeconomía, quizás sí de alguna manera relacionada, porque él vino acá a hablarnos de la que considera es la 6ª revolución tecnológica. Está junto a mí Mark Moss y lo presento inmediatamente. Mark, thank you for being with us in America Digital News TV. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's so fun to be here. Thanks for having me.
First time here in Chile?
It's my first time here in Chile, and I have to say I'm impressed. I like it a lot.
You like it a lot? Nice weather, you were telling me.
Yeah, I come from Southern California, and so it's very similar. So we have the deserts, we have the ocean, we have the mountains, and same weather. But I've never been to Chile, but the city here is modern. It's very clean. The buildings look nice. The people are nice. So it's been great.
Mark, you were recently in the International Forum.
Yes.
And we all know about the Industrial Revolution, the 4th revolution, but John, right now you are talking about the 6th revolution, a technology revolution.
Yes.
Please explain us, why do you think we are now in the 6th revolution?
Well, I look back to the Industrial Revolution in the late 1700s that happened in Europe. And really, before that, so about 300 years ago, the world was mostly just sort of in dirt and farming. Mm-hmm. And we had machines that all of a sudden could do the work of 5,000 men that allowed those men to now go create science, medicine, and more technology. So if we look at that as the Industrial Revolution or a technology, that was a technological revolution. And I would frame up a technological revolution is not a new technology, but rather it's a cluster of technologies that are created at one time that do two things. One, they shift the whole course of humanity, so the world changes. 2, it drives financial markets around them. So if I define it as that, it's a cluster of technologies, not just one. And we look at it, they happen about every 50 years. So it's also known as K waves or chondroitin waves. And so we had the Industrial Revolution that brought machines and factories. About 50 years later, we had steam engines and railways.
Yes.
So all of humanity, we had to move stuff by horse, and now we had rails and steam engines. About 50 years later, we had steel and electricity and heavy equipment. About 50 years later, 1908, we had the oil, which led to oil fuels, automobiles, and mass production. About 50 years later, 1971, we had the microprocessor, which brought us personal computers, telecommunications, and the internet. 1971 plus 50 years puts us right here today.
I remember making a memory, meanwhile we are talking, that 10 years ago maybe, or a little less, we were talking about the 4th technological revolution. Now you're talking about the 6th. Well, and I want to know, where's the 5th?
Well, Klaus Schwab wrote a book called The Fourth Revolution, Fourth Industrial Revolution. And in that book, he's talking about merging humans and machines together and everything being connected. So he calls it the 4th technological revolution. I'm calling it the 6th because of the 5 that I've just talked about. So it was Industrial Revolution, the machines.
Perfect.
It was the steam engines and the railways. It was the steel, it was the oil, automobiles, telecommunications, and now this is the 6th that I'm framing up. And the way that I look at it is a little bit different. So not only does it change the course of humanity, as those technologies do, but it also drives financial markets. So what have been the financial markets the last 50 years? Internet companies, telecommunications, computers. What was driving markets 50 years before that? Automobiles, Ford, GM, GE. What drove the markets before that? Steel, oil, right? So those are the things that drive the markets. And so I think we're witnessing the 6th right now, a new cluster of technologies that will change the course of humanity, and it will drive financial markets for the next 50 years.
The last milestone that I've heard in the financial markets, I've heard it to the vice chairman of BlackRock, the biggest hedge fund in the world, portfolio manager, and he was talking about ESG topics. And ESG topics are going to be the biggest drivers of finance because those are going to be the topics that the clients are going to be worried the most. They're going to focus on that. But that was before COVID, before the pandemic. And after COVID and the pandemic, the health sector has a huge amount of money going there. So, and then artificial intelligence, ChatGPT. So, which do you think are the drivers of finance right now? Because there are a lot of ideas and a lot of topics going around.
Right. So in a technological revolution, we're talking about a cluster of technologies that will build those investments. Doesn't mean the old ones go away. So we still buy Ford and GM stock.
Yes.
People still invest into oil and steel. So those don't go away, but it creates a new set. So first of all, back to BlackRock, Larry Fink, largest asset manager in the world. He did talk about ESG, but now they've completely abandoned that. ESG is dead. BlackRock dropped all their ESG funds because it doesn't make sense. So that's gone. As far as healthcare, yes, people always invest in healthcare, sure. What about AI and language models? Yes, but that's part of the last one. So that's part of internet and technology. So the sixth technological revolution is decentralized. It's a decentralized revolution. So Bitcoin gives us a new monetary, decentralized monetary protocol. And now we're seeing other technologies like Nostr become a decentralized communication protocol. Because what's happened is the world has a serious problem right now today, and that's trust.
Yes, absolutely.
We found out that
we are in a digitalized event. And the main concept here is zero trust.
Zero trust.
When we're talking about cybersecurity, all kind of threats, all kind of attack with worms, with the ransomware, every party here said zero trust.
Okay, so let's talk about that because this is a big problem. The thing with trust is very fragile.
Yes.
And when it's broken, it doesn't come back. If you have a business partner who's stealing from you, or a wife or a girlfriend who's cheating on you, once that trust is broken, it doesn't come back. And so the social contract that we have between our governments and the institutions is at an all-time low. The lowest it's been in any time in history, measured across a number of spectrums. So it doesn't come back. And to all these problems that you have, cybersecurity and things like that, we have a new technology now that can fix that. We have a new set of building blocks. So what happens is these revolutions are building blocks. So steel. Before steel, we could only build 2 or 3 stories because we used bricks. With steel, a new set of building blocks, now we can build skyscrapers and bridges. So now today we have this decentralized technology. So let's talk about data hacks, for example. Data hacks are a big problem. Ransomware, these things. In the United States, Experian is like the largest credit agency. They were hacked. Everybody's data, their credit data, was let all over. In the United States,
remember the issue with the pipeline in the East Seaboard.
Right, they attacked the pipeline.
Yes.
The NSA, that is the government's security agency, they were hacked. So the problem is, how do we stop that from happening? Now, if I had $1 billion in one bank, people might want to try to rob that bank. If I had 1 billion banks with $1 each, nobody bothers. And that's exactly what decentralized technology does, like the Bitcoin network. So we have Bitcoin, the network, the protocol, and then we have Bitcoin, the asset that moves on the network. So we can break those into 2 separate pieces. So we have Bitcoin, the network, which is a decentralized network, and it's a decentralized revolution. So now, instead of one database at Experian that we have a team of cybersecurity experts that are trying to guard and protect, but it gets hacked all the time, now we've put the databases decentralized over the entire world.
And also, one of the main support comments of people that are in Bitcoin are there's no one central bank that makes the currency. No, there are a lot of users that by their own certifies that a Bitcoin is worth what they say it's worth. So it's not only about security, it's also about recognition, the value of the coin.
It's back to trust.
Yes,
you see,
trust.
Because right now, today, we have to trust everyone who controls the ledger. So we moved from an industrial world, a physical world. Today, we live in an information world. Okay? And so if I have my phone, everyone knows I have it. And if I give it to you, everyone knows you have it. That's physical.
Yeah.
But in the information world, who controls the ledger? So at my bank, if I want to transfer money to you, my bank just takes it from my account and moves it to yours. The bank controls the ledger. Your government, the Chilean government, controls the peso ledger. But how do we know how many pesos there are? Did they make more pesos? And so we don't know. Now, it's two things. One, centralization, decentralization. But the problem is trust. The problem is trust.
Why do you think, Mark, the trust is being very slow about Bitcoin and other currencies with governments, with the main finance sector? Are they trying to protect their own businesses, or they are very slow about getting in that trust? Because, by example, here in Chile, there's only one fund that works with the Bitcoin and other currencies, digital currencies.
Only one phone?
Only one fund that I know in the finance sector. The central bank here in Chile is maybe in a future talking about a digital coin, but it's only like a paper issue. A paper, I mean, this a project that are talking about.
Right.
Why do you think the traditional finance sector is very slow about getting into the Bitcoin sector in the US and mainly all over the world?
Yeah. So I want to answer that question. I want to say one thing first. Chile is known for its exports of copper and lithium, and wine. And so if you look at copper is an asset. It's a commodity.
Yes.
It's a physical thing. But then there's an entire copper industry built around copper. So who designed the new drill head that can get in the ground to get copper better? Or who designed the new AI software to find copper in the ground better? So there's copper, and then there's the copper industry. So we have Bitcoin, and now we have a Bitcoin industry built around it. And that just takes time. So back to the finance side, there's two things. One, it takes time. We're 15 years into this experiment. And so it takes time. But number two, so like from when copper was first discovered, how long did it take to get the copper industry going? The copper industry is still growing today. But more importantly, back to the finance industry. Why is the finance industry slow to adopt it? Because it kind of gets away from needing them. You see, what is the purpose of a bank? A bank has three purposes. One, they hold our money for us.
Yes.
Two, they manage payments, sending and receiving money. And three, we can get loans. Okay, so one, when gold used to be money, they would hold my gold in the bank, and then they would control the ledger, so I didn't have to give you gold. They would just go take it from my account to your account, right? So they hold the money, and they handle payments. But now, anybody in the world right now, this very second, within 30 seconds, you could download a Bitcoin app, and I could transfer you money. Yeah. So if I can hold my own money and manage my payments, what do we need the whole finance sector for?
It's very interesting because you're talking about Bitcoin, blockchain, gives trust, in your opinion. And the bank business, like you said, is also about handling risk assessment. So that is maybe the next step, because
what do you mean handling risk assessments, though?
Because they have to assess my risk
for a loan.
For a loan, exactly.
Sure.
But if we have a technology that gives trust, like you said, maybe it's the next step of the finance sector, and maybe that's the objective of Bitcoin and blockchain, being the next step of trust in the finance sector and all sectors that handles very sensitive information.
I think it's that I want to know that I have my money, and no government can just print more of it and steal my value from me. Mm-hmm. And I can control it, and if I want to send it to you, nobody can stop it or block it or prevent it. You see, all freedom comes from the freedom to transact. My bank can tell me who I can send money to and not. 1.5 billion people in the world today have no access to banking because they don't have permission to join. I live in the United States, the land of the free, and every time I send a big wire transfer, my bank says, hang on, who are you sending money to? Fill out this information. That's not free. And then every time my government prints more dollars, my dollars in my bank buy me less goods.
Exactly.
So what we want is to, one, control that. I need to take over my own ledger. And two, I need to be able to control who I send and receive. So what is the purpose of the banks at that point? Now, loans, yes. Loans, yes. But I think there will always need to be somebody making a decision on my credit worthiness, whether I can pay the loan back or not. So I think that function will still remain the same. But I think ultimately the finance industry was really designed to help me offset the effects of inflation. Right? When the government inflates the money supply, my money buys less goods. So instead of saving my money, I have to go become an investor. But I don't know how to invest because it's so complicated. So then I'll give it to somebody else like Wall Street and let them do it for me. But if I can hold my money in Bitcoin and it buys me more in the future, I don't need to invest.
Mark, to end in our conversation, do you think that Bitcoin is going to be, and other digital currencies are going to be more accepted? Like an example, when I went to a car shop and I want to buy a car, I can do it in Bitcoin. Or I want to go to vacation, pay my hotel, okay, I can do it in Bitcoin. Do you think when that is more spread in the commerce sector and in other sectors, that is the moment of time when Bitcoin is going to be the next step? I say that the concept again, when I can use it more often in our daily basis?
So money is an evolution. So it starts as a collectible. Oh, look at this. This is something cool. And then it can become a store of value. So today, a lot of rich people store their money in collectibles, fine art, old cars, things like that. And then it can become a medium of exchange. I can use to buy and sell stuff. And then it can be a unit of account. I measure everything in that. So Bitcoin has already moved to a store of value. People are storing their wealth. You don't have to be able to buy and sell your cup of coffee with it for it to be a monetary good. I can still use a store of value. But back to what you're saying, the medium of exchange. Can I go buy everything with it? Well, I'm happy to just store it in gold or Bitcoin and then use fiat to buy and sell stuff. But will it become that? Yes. So it's been 15 years, and already it's the 5th largest currency in the world. Already. It's the 5th largest. By transaction volume and by market size.
After dollar, euro.
Dollar, euro. The British pound is the 3rd still. It's the 5th largest one right now. So in 15 years, it's become the 5th largest, pretty big. Number 2, in El Salvador, it's now the legal tender. So you can go and use it all over in El Salvador. I was in Europe for a month this last summer, and all the money exchange places would exchange Bitcoin for money. You can now find a lot of people taking it for cars or for real estate and things like that. So it will get there. So I think probably in the next 5-6 years, I think it would be a lot more widely accepted.
Sexta revolución tecnológica es de lo que hemos hablado acá en América Digital News TV junto a Mark Moss. Mark, ha sido un placer estar contigo.
Thank you.
Y nosotros vamos a seguir acá en Espacio Riesgo en Santiago de Chile, hablando con personas tan interesantes como Mark, porque el 9º Congreso de América Digital, Tecnología y Negocios también comienza recién esta transmisión especial de América Digital News TV.